baseball in overtime, 36 or 32-26 in Miami Gardens. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, Quincy Enunwa here at One Jets Drive. You're watching Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. EA, again, another difficult loss for the New York Jets for the third week in a row, or the third game in a row, should I say. The Jets have the ball late in the game. They go ahead on a field goal. The Dolphins quickly tie the game. The Jets don't even see the ball in overtime after Jonnu Smith. 3 catches in the game, all very important in overtime.
All too familiar script for the Jets and their fan base. This is the 7th time this year where the Jets have lost by 6 points or fewer. And today it comes at the hands of the Miami Dolphins. You have a lead late in that ball game. It is 23-23. You have possession of the ball. Unfortunately, a couple plays knock you back there. You settle for a field goal, ensuing kickoff. Miami gets the ball out close to midfield. They hammer in a field goal from Jason Sanders, the equalizer, make it 26-26. You lose the coin toss, and the Dolphins and Tua and Jonnu Smith go right down the field, and the game's over.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the Jets, I think I said in the pregame show that they really haven't been beaten too badly outside of 2 games. So they found a way to keep it close. They just have not found a way to finish. And this game was one where you could not make any mistakes. And they found a way to make a mistake at the worst time possible. That kickoff return was probably the biggest mistake of the game. I think ultimately you could have came out with a win here. The Miami Dolphins offense was high-powered. They were firing all cylinders. They were taking what the defense was giving them. But you just have to find a way to not make that mistake in the end. You can't kick the ball in the play. You give them an opportunity. At the end of the half, they had drove down the field. So they proved that they could do it, and they showed it again there.
Yeah, everybody dealing with injuries, but that's a huge injury for the Jets from a special teams perspective. Irv Charles out of the ball game when Washington takes that return back to near midfield.
And look, Jeff Ulbrich said after the game that Anders Carlson, he was supposed to kick it through the end zone. He just kind of missed the ball, which resulted in a shorter kick. Malik Washington takes it up the sideline, puts the Dolphins in good position to go out and actually tie the game into Quincy.
And here it is. I mean, for a second there, I thought the ball was going to go out of bounds.
Yeah, it looked like it was a pretty nice job of staying inbounds as well from Malik Washington. And so this is about midfield now that the Dolphins have the ball with 44 seconds and no timeouts. And like you said, Quincy, at the end of the first half, the Jets had an opportunity to eat some clock, and then the Dolphins score a field goal. Talk about 57 yards right before the half, 52 yards. Jason Sanders, although he missed an extra point in the beginning of the game, he was really a difference maker for this Dolphins team, EA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the Jets, the one thing they lamented after this ball game, Aaron Rodgers, I think we're going to hear from him coming up, is that he always talks about getting 30. Yeah. Anders Carlson was very good today, but the hope there would be you'd be able to convert some of those scoring possessions into touchdowns and not settling for so many Carlson field goals, because by and large, this is a game both offenses dominated. You're talking about Aaron Rodgers. He throws for 300 yards for the first time in 35 games. You got Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams going over 100 yards. I thought the Jets protected very well up front, and I really liked what I saw out of the rookie running back pair of Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you score a touchdown there. 4 field goals kicked. If you score a touchdown there, you change the course of the game, right? That's a game-winning touchdown. I think ultimately that we talk about finishing, that would have been the biggest thing there. Offensively, though, man, Aaron Rodgers was firing on all cylinders. He was finding the right guy. Everybody had an opportunity to make a play. It's great to see that he got that 300-yard game, but it comes in a losing effort, and that's the most frustrating thing, even for Aaron Rodgers. I think it's so confusing because you look at this season and you're looking at how do you find a way to win, and it feels like there's different ways that they're finding to lose. So how do you go into the drawing board and say this is what we need to do differently when you change things up and you still find a way to lose that game? So, you know, it's just a very, very challenging season. I think for them, they just have to find a way to be positive.
Yeah, and I think that with these two guys right here, it's going to be always interesting to see what the discrepancy was in terms of workload, because with Breece Hall, you know you have a star, you have to feed him. Yeah. So for Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, it was a little more 50-50, should you say, as you see 11 carries for one, 10 for the other, and nearly 800 yards of total offense. To your point, EA, the Jets total 402 yards of offense, the Dolphins 375 yards. And for more on this game, let's hear from Jets head coach Jeff Ulbrich.
You double Tyreek Hill. Looks like you got the tight end in a situation you get covered with Adams. Was it just a great pass in a position where you couldn't make that play on that last one?
Yeah, definitely give credit to the Dolphins. They executed at a high level on that play. Still, we had an opportunity to make it. We should have made it.
But what happened with the kickoff after the Eagle by 3?
Yeah, he missed it. We're supposed to kick that out of the end zone. We just missed the kick, so went into play. But at the end of the day, we got to cover what's kicked, and we didn't cover it well enough.
Was the intent on that Devontae Adams catch where he went out of bounds? Was the intent to stay in bounds?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We had just gone on the field, told everybody we are now officially in 4-minute mode, stay in bounds, burn the clock as best as possible, and they did a good job pushing them out.
This is, I think, the 5th time that you guys have lost the fourth quarter lead in a loss. What does it say about the team that struggled so much in those games?
Yeah, we got to find a way to finish and close these things out. We got to be at our best when our best required, and we're not getting that accomplished. And I got to look at myself first. So, yeah, that last drive it's interesting. You know, I'm gonna stay up some nights thinking about that last drive because, you know, the instinct is to be ultra aggressive, but I think there was 3 or 4 screens on it, you know, so he was definitely playing us for pressure and trying to get after him. So got to provide a better answer for our players.
I mean, this is now 3 losses like this in a row. I think I asked last week how you get these 3 body blows. How does this team still dealing with so many losses like this?
Yeah, just a huge credit to that locker room because, especially in this day and age, I think there's some teams that might relent a little bit, that might relax a little bit, might start thinking about their offseason, start thinking about their own thing, and I haven't felt that from that locker room at all. They have absolutely stayed together. They continue to fight. They continue to stay together, and it's a great testament to them.
What do you think about the way Aaron played?
I thought he played well. I thought we moved the ball efficiently up and down the field, so he had a good game.
What is your message to the locker room after losing a game like this?
A big part of it is my appreciation for them. You know, they work the right way. The process is intact, and that's what makes this so much more frustrating and just maddening because the process is right. The guys are working hard during the week, walkthroughs, meetings, the whole thing. Details high, energy's high, execution's high, and it's not translating to the field on Sundays well enough. So it's very frustrating.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's not translated on the field?
If I had that answer, we wouldn't have, you know, I'd hopefully save this organization for any losses. Just moments, man, where just execution is not where it needs to be. Maybe the call is not the ideal call, the perfect call in that situation. You know, it's countless things, but it's not good enough because ultimately we're graded upon wins and losses, and we're not getting it done.
What is your focus going forward?
Vote for longtime Jets fan Joe Abramsky, a retired FDNY 9/11 responder, to be crowned the 2024 NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan at the Super Bowl this year in New Orleans. Scan the QR code to learn about Joe and cast your vote. You're watching Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM here at One Jets Drive. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, Quincy Nunwa. Final score in South Florida: Dolphins 32, Jets 26 in overtime. Let's go to the film room, presented by Microsoft Surface. And here's the thing, Quincy: the Jets get on the board. They get a lead early from 2 young players here.
Yeah, absolutely. So on this first play here, it's a great job of. Look at this right here. We got a man zone read. So you're motioning your tight ends to figure out, okay, what are you guys doing? We find out it's man. So you see everybody's locked in. Everybody has their man. And we got our guy right here at the bottom, Garrett Wilson, doing a great job of getting open. And then he's so good with the ball in his hands. Look at this quick twitch, the ability to make you miss. He's just a great receiver, great number 1 receiver. On this side here, so I'm going to show you, boom, look at this. Look at the separation just off the line of scrimmage. And then we talked last week about how Aaron Rodgers supposedly doesn't like to throw when somebody's in his face. He does a good job of getting it on target and then letting Garrett Wilson do the rest of the job. On this second play here, Isaiah Davis got in the end zone for the 2nd week in a row. Good job by him, man. You know, we'll talk about outside zone. I want to show you this other angle right here. This is the angle that's really important because Ulbrich talked about how he's one of the better outside zone running backs that they have. So he has the opportunity to go here or cut it back. So I'm showing you here, he can go in that hole. He can go back to the other hole, right? He finds a hole he wants to go to, and he hits it as hard as possible. And the biggest thing on big runs is always receivers. If your receiver is blocking downfield, you're going to score. Great job, Lazard, coming back and helping his team out.
Well, first of all, that was back-to-back plays. 4th and 4 to Garrett Wilson. Even the guts to go for it on 4th down pays off big time. Then Isaiah Davis scores the next play. To your point, 2 touchdowns in as many weeks. Last week was a receiving touchdown. This week, Isaiah Davis's first career rushing touchdown. And Caroline Hendershot caught up with him after the game.
Here with Isaiah Davis. Isaiah, what was Coach Ulbricht's message to the team after today's game?
Not much words. The process was right. We did things the right way, and another tough situation in the game where we just didn't finish. So we did everything the right way throughout the week, practiced the right way, prepared the right way, and we just got to find a way to win these games in the end.
I know it wasn't the result you guys wanted, but what did you think of your play? Breece Hall wasn't in the rotation today, obviously with his knee injury, and so they leaned on you more, and you got your second touchdown in 2 weeks. What did you think of your performance?
I thought I was good. Definitely things I can clean up. I can execute a couple better on some things, and it's flat route on 3rd down. Aaron, I wasn't in the right spot. I feel like I could have got a little more width, so it was all right though. I feel like I did pretty good. Definitely several ways to improve, and some good tape to watch this week.
Did you feel like the offense was clicking in a different way today? Yeah,
I just feel like we had energy. We were up rolling. And our first 4 drives, we put up points, right? It was 3 or 7. We found a way to put points on the board, and that's what we got to keep doing. And we can't slack off in the second half. We got to keep finishing how we started this today.
Last one for you, the O-line. I know obviously Morgan Moses was battling through an injury, then Max Mitchell came in. What did you think of how well they played today?
Played great. We definitely had some lanes. Edward had some time. Garrett and Tate had both had 100 yards, so I thought they did pretty good today.
Awesome. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Jets fans, lock in your tickets now to see the green and white in action when they host the Los Angeles Rams at MetLife Stadium December 22nd at 1 p.m., presented by New Jersey Lottery. Secure your seats now at nyjets.com/tickets and get ready to bring the energy. All right, so the Jets fall in Miami. Final score 32-26 in overtime. You're watching Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. EA, you mentioned it earlier, the first time since December 2021 that Aaron Rodgers goes over 300 yards. Completed 27 of his 39 passes, 339 yards, 1 touchdown for a 104.5 passer rating. And again, it's unfortunate to say that a performance like this comes in a loss.
I thought he was really good. What I was most encouraged about as far as the aerial attack today is you had more explosive plays in the past game. Yeah. Quincy did a great job with that film breakdown, as he always does. But that was a 4th and 4 play call that Garrett Wilson got 30-plus on. And then we saw later in that first half Rodgers going to Davante Adams. There were a number of plays there. There's the throw that I was just referencing right there. Both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson going over 100 yards. There's some yak from Davante Adams. And Lazard returns to the lineup. He has 1 catch, and, of course, he's the guy who gets Aaron Rodgers over 300 yards for the first time in 35 games.
Of course, right?
That's kind of what you expect. And speaking of Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson, Garrett didn't score. Davante Adams did. That gave the Jets a 20-15 lead early in the 3rd quarter. And now the 2 of those guys, Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, have sole possession of 4th place of most touchdowns by a quarterback to wide receiver duo. The next guys that they're chasing, Dan Marino and Mark Clayton, of course, for the Miami Dolphins. It was going to be very unlikely that they caught up to them today, regardless of how the game ended out, but they moved past Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. And one thing about Garrett Wilson, by the way, we were talking about pregame. How much would Jalen Ramsey line up against Garrett or against Davante Adams? And how about this stat? Garrett Wilson caught 4 of his 6 targets against Jalen Ramsey as the nearest defender in Week 14, 97 yards. That's the most receiving yards allowed by Ramsey as the nearest defender since at least 2017, according to Next Gen Stats. And not only that, but Garrett Wilson's now recorded the 2nd most receiving yards against press coverage this season after the 1 p.m. slate, Quincy.
Listen, man, everybody wants to say that he's not a number 1. I don't know how you can make that argument. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's good off the press. He does everything he's supposed to do. Now, obviously, he has some faults, but there's no number 1 receiver that's perfect. This guy is a talented receiver. He's so flexible. He's an acrobat, right? He's Look at this, man. Like, he can make you flip your hips. You don't want to go the direction he's making you go, but he will make you go that way so that he can go the opposite direction. And he's fast. He can get open. I mean, he's a hell of a talent.
Yeah. And you were talking about explosive plays. We just saw the first possession of the second half.
Double move.
42-yard completion. And again, unfortunate that it wasn't a touchdown, but we saw the Jets take more shots today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they were efficient, too. You're talking about not only were the stats impressive, but 10 targets for Garrett, 7 catches, 114, 11 targets for Devontae, 9 catches, 109 yards, and the 1 touchdown. So, this was one of Aaron Rodgers' best efforts. It might have been his best game of the season if you're talking wire to wire. We could make the argument, was it New England Week 3? I don't know. Actually, I thought the pass game, by the numbers themselves, definitely had their best outing of the season. And I will say this about Jalen Ramsey, very good defender. Garrett Wilson makes him look like a linebacker out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, and
that's not a knock.
No.
I'm just
Garrett Wilson is just a quick receiver.
Yeah.
If you don't have the feet like him, it's very challenging to stay with him. I like the game plan that they had today. I mean, even on the touchdown to Devontae Adams, the rollout, I think the last time we saw that was against the Patriots with Garrett Wilson catching that touchdown that was right, almost got tipped, right? Like getting Aaron Rodgers on the perimeter, like we saw a little bit more of that. I think the offensive plan was great. It's just, again, we talk about playing complete game, offense, defense, and special teams. But, man, the offensive game plan was good. They got to keep going like this.
Well, and to your point about rolling, you're right. Aaron Rodgers said that the last 2 weeks now he's felt pretty good from a mobility perspective. And the last time he felt that good was New England, which is the play you just mentioned, rolling to the right when he hits Garrett in the front right pylon. Mm-hmm. And, of course, today that was Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 3 times today. And one of them, he was just really buying time along the sidelines before he went down. But for more on this Jets offense performance, we're going to check in with Caroline and John Simpson.
Here with John Simpson. John, what did Coach Ulbrich say to the team after today's game?
Just stick together. Adversity it's at its all-time high right now, and just sticking together and playing for each other. That was really the message.
Tough way to lose today's game, but what did you think of the offensive performance as a whole?
I felt like we played well. There's always things that everybody wants back. Just got to finish. That's the name of the game right now, and just finishing on both sides of the ball. Bringing our best foot forward every play, and just being able to finish. I think that's the biggest thing.
What does it say about someone like Morgan Moses, who got injured pregame and still came out the first half battling through that injury, and then even Max Mitchell, who came up and stepped up in his place?
It's huge, man. I was just telling him that. I was giving him all the praises because, injury, I don't know if it's out there or not, but like an injury like that is crazy. And for him to go out there and be able to, compete and play is huge. And then Max coming in and being able to fill his shoes is also big. Our room is, we got a lot of guys that's battle tested and guys that's ready to go play. So for Max to come in and do what he did, I'm not surprised at all.
What is your message to this offensive line group as you guys look to kind of flush this game out of your system and look ahead to next week?
My message, the same message has been all year. Just keep grinding and just keep the main thing, and just focus on the next rep and, just the next thing, the next play, the next, you know what I mean? Just focus on your task at hand and just keep being great, man. Just keep going. It'll all pay off.
Awesome. Appreciate the time, John.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Thank you, John Simpson. We were talking about this earlier, but nearly 800 yards of total offense, 777 to be exact. And the Jets were able to throw the ball all over the yard today, EA. Just like you said, I do feel like, I agree with you, this was the most complete wire-to-wire passing attack that the Jets have had so far this season. And also you factor in that the Jets didn't have their star running back in Breece Hall. They were down Sauce Gardner. Of course, Tua Tagovailoa finishes completing 70% of his passes, 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 47 pass attempts. But the story for the Jets was Aaron Rodgers going over 300 yards for the first time in a difficult, challenging loss. Let's hear from him now.
Good as you felt the offense has operated?
Yeah, we had some good stretches. I think we scored the first 5 possessions. We got to be better in the red zone. We had a couple negative yards plays and false starts that hurt us, but I feel like we moved the ball pretty efficiently. We obviously had the 2 3 and outs, and then we're back tied and put together a nice drive to get down there and take the lead. But again, even on that drive, we had negative yards plays after we get down there like the 25 or whatever. So disappointing.
What happened on the pass to Devontae where he went out of bounds? Was the intent to stay in?
Was the intent to stay in?
Yeah.
They played a jam front, 6-man box. We had draw called. So I just threw it out there to him. There wasn't a whole lot of conversation about staying in bounds. Obviously, he would have liked to. He's trying to get yards, and I'm not sure he was trying to go out of bounds. But, yeah.
Is that the healthiest you've felt in a while today?
I felt good last week, too.
How do you make sense of the way you guys are losing games? This is 3 in a row that felt like you guys had it and slipped away.
Yeah, we had chances, a lot of chances. Just got to look at the offense. That's what we can control. We got to score touchdowns in the red zone. 30 again. You get to 30, obviously that would have been short today. Not in regulation, though. But, we had our chances to get to 30 today. Didn't do it, and that's why we lost.
Why do you think you haven't been able to close out some of these close games?
There's a lot of reasons, like we said. A lot of different ways we've lost these games. Everybody has, has some skin on that. But, we had our opportunities on offense. Whatever happens on defense doesn't matter. We got to get to 30. We didn't do it. We were efficient. We were pretty good on third down. The red zone, we stalled out too many times.
I know that you probably had the reality of probably sunk in about making the playoffs, but today was the mathematical finality of it. Just thoughts on that based on how high the expectations were.
Yeah, the expectations were high. We didn't reach them. Not even close. It felt good 3 weeks in. That weekend off we had, everybody felt real good, and since then it's been a lot of difficult games with opportunities to win. We just didn't figure out how to win enough games. I didn't play good enough in some crunch times, and that's why we're sitting here with the record we got.
Couple more.
The holidays have arrived, and the Jets are giving you the chance to go on the ultimate shopping spree. Text SHOP to 26154 to enter for your chance to win a $500 Jets Shop gift card. Terms and conditions apply. You're watching Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. Again, the Jets fall in Miami. Final score 32-26 in overtime. And it's time for our report cards here on Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. We're going to start with the offense, and we're going to start with you, Quincy.
So offense, I think they did a pretty good job today. So I gave them a B. I think ultimately they played a really good game. Over 400 yards of offense. You talk about driving the ball down the field. Almost every drive was a scoring drive. Only 2 punts. So to keep it short, I think they did a really good job as an offense. Aaron Rodgers and all those different guys. 200-yard receivers.
I agree. A B. The Jets were 2 of 5 in the red zone. Also, third down efficiency wasn't great, but Rodgers he looked like his vintage self today, going over 300 yards for the first time in 35 games. We've mentioned that multiple times. Garrett Wilson was fantastic. You saw Devontae Adams get 100 yards as well. The rookie running backs showed promise, both of them. Isaiah Davis gets in the end zone for a second consecutive game, this time his first one on the ground. And then how about Max Mitchell stepping up at right tackle? Morgan Moses goes out of the game. And from what I could tell, we didn't watch all 22 review, but Olu Fashanu looked quite good in there again. The only drawback I would say is I mentioned red zone. I didn't like that sequence at the end of the game. Unfortunately, you had the 5-yard loss from Isaiah Davis.
Right.
On first down, on second down, Rodgers is sacked. And then on third down, this is what we've heard from Ulbrich and Rodgers throughout the show. Their comments on Devontae Adams, unfortunately, they were able to get him out of bounds there.
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely a drawback for the team.
Right, and so, by all accounts and purposes, though, 402 yards of total offense. It had this
hell of a game.
The missing link in this to be closer to an A grade for you both is just the result of the game?
Yeah, ultimately, honestly, I think if we just take away the loss, I think I would have probably given him an A, right? This is winning effort right here, right? You would like to have seen more touchdowns, but it's a winning effort.
All right, so now going to the defense, where are you going with that?
So I'm going with a C. So I'm trying to stay within the context of the game, right? I think Tua, the last 4 games, he's been 250 yards plus. He's a very efficient passer, Drew Brees-like right now. Most of his passes, 27 of 32, are under 10 yards. So he's not throwing chunk yards down the field. His longest pass was 21 yards. So the defense did a good job of keeping everything in front of them. They just could not stop them from getting to the end zone. They only forced 2 field goals, 2 punts. So I gave them a C. Probably could have went lower, but I think this is a good offense.
It is a good offense. I went with the C-, so I was a little bit of a tougher grader. I thought Jamie Sherwood was all over the place. He had 18 tackles. Brandon Eccles getting the start in place of Sauce Gardner was out of this game, a game day inactive with the hamstring injury. He had 10 tackles. The Dolphins were 1 of 9 on 3rd down. But 2 stats that are missing from this ball game is no takeaways and no sacks.
Yeah.
And this is a team that thrives on its pressure. Unfortunately, they had an opportunity late again, and the Dolphins get a field goal. And then at the beginning of overtime, you have a very good quarterback who is feeling quite warm throughout the day in Aaron Rodgers, and he never had the opportunity to touch the ball in the extra session.
Yeah, to your point, this is the second time this season the Jets have not registered a sack. And the Jets generated 10 pressures on 48 dropbacks against the Dolphins. That's the second lowest pressure rate in a game this season for the Green and White.
And before you get to special teams, I should say the run defense has been awfully good.
Yeah.
Achane, 24 yards on 14 carries. So taking care of the primary ball carrier.
Ever since the game in Arizona. And like the Jets coming into this game over the last 3 weeks led the NFL in yards per rush allowed, meaning the fewest, not the most, because sometimes that can be a little bit confusing. But now for our final report card, special teams. Where are you going there?
So special teams, I actually went with C+. I know that in the end of the game, they really kind of messed things up. But, man, you're talking about your young kicker, 4 for 4, I think he went. Like a great job. Outside of that kick, they pinned him inside the 30 every time. That's just I think it had more to do with the injuries, obviously not kicking the ball out of bounds, right? So that was a big mistake that dropped them down from what I would have given them a BB+ to the C+.
I'm saying C because I'm comparing them to the Dolphins. Now, Sanders misses an extra point there in the first half, and I was thinking, well, that might prove to be decisive. Unfortunately, he nails that field goal at the end of regulation from 52 yards. Anders Carlson, he wasn't shy the moment either. Just 45 seconds before that, it looked like he had a potential game winner there. Did a very nice job, but Washington had the killer return at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, look, unfortunately, there's all these little blemishes in what was a really good overall performance from the New York Jets. But again, the Jets this week in Florida. The Jets are again in Florida next week and take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just took down the Tennessee Titans earlier this afternoon. And then, of course, the Jets host the Rams before their final road game against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo before they wrap up against the opponent that they saw today at MetLife Stadium in the Miami Dolphins. That's all the time we have here on Jets Overtime. Final score in Week 14, 32-26, the Dolphins over the Jets in overtime.